It's about the style shaped by the most fashionable queen in history, Marie Antoinette, and we look at the style that she shaped from 1770 until her death, and then the legacy of that style, the many revivals of that style over the 232 years since her death. So she covers quite a few different sort of styles, including the high Rococo and then neoclassicism. So we look at those different silhouettes, we look at this kind of evolution from the style in France at court when she first arrives and her very elaborate wedding gown and court dress, formal court dress, and then we look at the more fashionable styles that she introduced and that evolved towards the sort of neoclassical and then finally the sort of revolution. We have obviously parts of her wardrobe that survived that we brought back together for the first time, and really significant loans from the Château of Versailles as well, very generous loans, so portraits of her by Vigée Lebrun. Her jewellery chest, which is an absolute sort of exquisite piece of marquetry and a sort of masterpiece of 18th century furniture, that's another highlight. And then there are more sort of personal items like her shoes, some of her accessories. We have her jewels as well, which we've reunited with that jewellery box again for the first time since her death. And then I think for me as well, her final note and her chemise, so her underwear from when she was in prison, are two really, really moving objects belonging to her that people will see. So I think she herself is this captivating figure. Then she goes through this series of truly extraordinary kind of circumstances in her personal life, things like the non-consummation of the marriage, the various difficulties that she experienced in life at Versailles, and then the fact that she herself was quite an extroverted character. And then all of this takes place against the backdrop of one of the most seismic episodes in history, which is the French Revolution, which is one of the most important events in our civilization. So I think it's a combination of all those things. I think it's her extraordinary kind of personality, it's the terrible sort of circumstances that she lives through, and then it's this amazing sort of backdrop. And also she is queen of one of the most important courts, one of the most powerful nations in the world. There are the obvious influences that you can pick out. So when you're looking at these amazing Dior, Chanel gowns, for instance, in the contemporary section, you can see very clearly that the influence of the robe à la polonaise, that sort of pink sugary, sort of sugared almond, la durée macaron kind of palette. But then also these kind of ripples through sort of performance as well. I mean, we bring, for instance, Grace Kelly's gown, which is designed by Edith Head, which she modelled on Marie Antoinette, which is a much more sort of subtle kind of influence, for instance. So I think what's incredible is that her influence has been so continuous. It's really almost been non-stop, although there are these peaks and troughs. It's continued, really ever since her death and continues now.